Greetings and salutations, relaxed gamer nation. Welcome back to Space Engineers Back to Basics. Why am I on this start menu? Well, because we need to talk about scripts. Scripts are a very important part of the Space Engineers PC game. The reason why I say PC game is that you will not be able to, as far as I know, you will not be able to use scripts on Xbox or any other platforms thereof. It has to be on PC for this to actually work, which unfortunately sucks because you need to enable experimental mode. Let me talk about that for a moment. So you can find experimental mode under the options menu on the PC client, under the game menu, and right here. I am circling it. You can see that. Experimental mode. Now, the problem with experimental mode is you cannot just out of the box enable it, as far as I recall, because when I enabled experimental mode, I had to do the starter scenario first before I could even do that. That starter scenario is under a new game, learning to survive. Now, I don't know if it's the case now, because once you have experimental mode enabled, you don't have to worry about this. And I'm not sure if it's been changed in recent updates, but you had to do the learning to survive in order to enable experimental mode. Now, I've already done that. It is long. Like, I'm talking probably on the short side of maybe 4 hours, depending on how well you understand it. But like I said, I am not certain if it's still the case. It used to be the case, but I don't think it's still the case. But don't quote me on that because I am not entirely certain. So now that we talked about that a little bit here, now we are going to go to the load game settings for our game. Now I have a whole bunch of games here. I got Per-Tem Orbit, I got Per-Tem Survival, etc. Per-Tem Orbit is my second season of Per-Tem Survival. But in order to, once you've enabled experimental mode, which I showed you on the previous screen, you need to go into your edit settings of the world that you're playing in. Let this load up. And then you need to go to Advanced. Under Advanced, there is an option down here somewhere, in-game scripts. You need to enable in-game scripts for scripts to actually work in-game. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to enable the scripts and click OK. We'll talk more about scripts once we get into it, but right now I am going to load up the game, and I will see you in a moment. And welcome back to our Back to Basics, where I talk about stuff, basic stuff. Stuff that hopefully makes your lives better, as it's made my life better. So in the last episode, we got our refinery up. Now, I want to look into building an aircraft this episode, but right now I think we need to talk about scripts. Because scripts are a very important part of Space Engineers, even though it's usually, as far as I recall, it is gated to that learning to survive tutorial scenario. So the first thing that we need to do for a script is to make a programming block. Programming blocks are under your standard stuff here. They're under programming block right there. And we'll grab some parts for it. Use some parts for it. Now, where we put this programming block really does not matter as long as it's on the grid that we're using it for. So for my purposes, I don't know where to put it. You know, let's just put it over here. I'm just gonna, you know what? This is hard choices. No access. I'm gonna put it here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And we got weather coming in, which is grand. Weather is an important part of Space Engineers too. However, it's probably not nearly as important as scripts. So, now that we got our programming block in here, we can go to our programming block and do edit stuff. Now, you cannot, this will be gone. This won't be here if you are if you don't have experimental mode enabled and you don't have the in-game scripts enabled. Same with this stuff. You won't find that here either. But I do have it enabled. Now, the first thing that we got to talk about is the code language. No, we don't have to talk about that because I don't code. An inferno. There we go. Because I do not code. I use codes. That's about it. If you are more interested in coding, I am not going to be helpful in this instance. I have some resources which I can use to actually make brand new code options, but that's about it. I'm not even sure if it works now with the most recent update. So when you first see this, there is the OK, check code, help, and browse scripts. Now, in order for you to see scripts, you have to subscribe to scripts in the Steam game or the mod.io thingy. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but you got to subscribe to stuff. I subscribe to everything on my Steam. Now I can hear myself think. So back in browse scripts. So what we are going to do right now is we are going to work on a script that I use a lot, specifically when it comes to solar panels. You can find the solar panel script that I use and most other places use by searching the Steam Workshop page for ISSI's solar alignment script, or just solar alignment script. This is probably the best one that I've come across, but it can always use some, there's always someone trying to do something better, but this is the one I use. Most of my stuff is ISSI's. If ISSI has something to do with it, I got ISSI's. So Inventory Manager is another one I use, but solar alignment script. So we are going to click copy to editor. Also, you'll find miscellaneous stuff in the little info if they've added an info, the version number, etc. And basically what this is supposed to do. Okay, so copy to editor. So now this has changed a lot. There's about 52,000 code lines. Code lines. That's just characters, it's not code lines. 52,000 characters, give or take. And we can set up our solar rotors. But before we do that, we need to do something else. Now this will automatically start running, so don't worry too much about that. We will recompile it in a moment, but what I need to do here is I already have this on a rotor. Okay, so I have it set to 315. I think I want to maximize, set it to 270 on the high end and 90 on the low end and nothing in between. So what are we looking at? Might be a minus 90, minus 270, I don't know. We'll figure that out in a moment here. First we gotta find a control panel in order to figure this out with, and do I have one easily available? No, of course not. Why would I? That seems absolutely useful. Rotor. Okay. So our current angle is at 45, minus 45. It's at minus 45 right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this down to a -90, and it's going to do a thing. And we're going to do a +90 there. Now -90 is going to bring him to that point, and +90 will bring him to this other point. If you do not have full clearance around it, it is very important that you do that before you start setting up your solar groups. So as we saw in the programming block, if we go back to edit, we have a few configuration options here. So the name of the group with all the solar radiated rotors is what we're looking for. We can change this to anything that we want. I just keep it the same. So I'm just going to copy this like so. Control C it. Okay. And now we're going to find that rotor. And we're going to put it into a group. So now it is assigned to Issy's solar panel script. Now that it's been assigned, it's already aligned, which is good. It can't go any further than the 90 degrees that I gave it. So throughout the day, this will change. But let's go into something a little more complicated here. For that, I am going to need to put a cut in here, and I'm going to build something. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, we are back, and I have a couple of platforms here that I made. They're pretty much identical. The only exception is this is using 3 rotors, and this is using 1 rotor and 1 hinge. They both have their merits. They are both useful. This is the most common configuration with the 3 rotor system. My fuel is low again. Really? I thought I topped it up.
Fuel critical.
Oh, I know. Bottle. Oh my god. Okay. So the reason why I went and decided to talk about scripts as it is because this is another there is another very useful script that I use a lot. We're going to get into that shortly, but this is our solar panel script. Like I said, this is the most common configuration, the 3 rotor configuration. It's just 1 rotor, 2 rotors on both sides. They are all in the same group of solar rotors, and I put a little piston head on top for some decoration. This is a cheaper way of doing it. It still gets you a decent amount of power, not nearly as much as that, but it's still going to follow the sun the same way. The benefit of this 3 rotor configuration is there's no angles that you have to worry about. You can just set it, group the rotors, and forget it, right? Same thing with this. There's no angles you have to worry about. It will follow the sun as best it can. And our rotor solar thing over here is doing the same thing. And once the sun goes down, they will go to a rest position. I'm not entirely sure what the rest position is, but they will go to it. So that is our basic solar panel script. I haven't changed anything in the configuration. I've basically copied this and gone with it. And it's this inside the quotes without the quotes. Make sure you don't include the quotes on that. But the other script that I want to talk about, which is going to make everyone's life super easy, is our inventory management script. You have probably seen plenty of other YouTubers using it. People who play Space Engineers using it. I use it almost exclusively and constantly, because it makes my inventory management a lot easier. I don't have to worry too much about it. And it's another one of those you can fire it and forget it scripts. So we're going to go into this, our programming block 2. You can change this to whatever. I typically like to go with the what script it's controlling. And PB for programming block. So we are going to go to Manager, Inventory Management Script, right here. Copy to the editor. We don't have to do much about this. We have optional things that we can do to it, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. So this is going to go through all our cargo containers. It's going to control the amount of ore and what order the ore is going to be put through the various refineries. Basic refinery, that refinery. I don't think it takes into account the survival kit. There might be something to set off, but that is one of the reasons why I have these cargo containers. Because these cargo containers are going to be a pain in the butt to sort. As it is, I don't think I have enough materials for these. I might. I don't know. Best thing I can do is check. Oh, it looks like we have fog coming in. It's a lot of interior plates. Okay. Well, I'm going to get those cargo containers built, and I will bring you back in a moment. Okay, so those cargo containers are built. Now, you'll notice with the cargo containers that they now have a subheading. This one's saying components. This one's got ores and ingots, which is pretty cool. And this one's pretty much got everything else. So that's the ISI manager script. I use it a lot. And there is more to that script. But this isn't really this isn't really about the ISI manager scripts, or sort of, kind of, maybe? Maybe it is. It can be thought about to be. Oh, dang it. Okay, so I have some screens here. So I can set up screens. It doesn't matter what type of screen you use. But with ISI Manager, I can set up some screens. Apparently it does not want to go there. For whatever reason. Or maybe there's no attachment point on the hydrogen engine. You want to be like that? You want to be like that? We're going to use this. There we go. Displays. Okay, well, I have one already up here, so let's go into this. Now, ISI Manager has an interesting feature to it. You can actually set it up to autocraft things. You can set it up to sort as well if you want. You can show fill level bars, which defaults to true. Fill bottles, which defaults to true. And you can set up some auto crafting right here. You can also set up some auto disassembling. So say you got a lot of stuff and you just don't want to hold on to that stuff, or you salvage a big craft and you bring it into this. Well, you can have this to disassemble. Now, the thing about auto crafting and auto disassembling is if you have auto disassembling on and you're still manually building stuff, which you'll probably be manual building stuff until the very end. You need two independent assemblers with independent tags on them. The tags are the assemble only and the disassemble only tags. The reason why you have to do that is because one assembler, it will try to do both jobs. But the problem with that is when you're building a big base and you're using the build vision and stuff like that, if the assembler is currently disassembling, it will tell you it cannot craft those items. So that's why I say you should probably have at least 2 assemblers, separate, independent assemblers. One with the disassemble only tag and one with the assemble only tag. I'm not sure if that was clear or anything. But now that we have this LCD panel 3, which I'm just going to get rid of the 3, if I put in auto crafting, like so, it will automatically fill it out with items that I have in my system. Pretty cool, huh? What I can then do here, you've probably seen me in several videos doing a similar thing, is you can set up your wanted queues. So say I want 120 displays. Well, I can just put that there. I want 60 girders. I want 500 interior plates, etc. 15 medical components, because that's what you need for a medical center. Metal grids, say I want 50 of those, etc. You see where I'm going here, right? You can set these to whatever you want, and once you exit out of this, it will try its best to get all that set up for you. If something isn't here, and you want it here, you'll have to craft it first. So when I click OK, this screen will change. There we go. So you see how it says for wait? Well, this is basically, it's going through the queue and it's telling the assembler that it wants the wanted amount in the queue. So it's going to try and assemble everything it can into that. If it can't assemble it, or if it's full, or if it's over the limit, then it won't do anything unless you have disassemble on. So that's just, I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. I'm very sorry if I've confused you. But what we did in this episode, because this is probably going to be a short episode, or it's probably going to be maybe less than average for this episode, is, yeah. So what we did in this episode is we went and talked about solar panels and scripts. I showed you how to enable scripts and told you how you might have to enable scripts. Again, I'm not even sure if that's necessary now, but if it is, now you know. You need to go through the learning to survive before you can enable assembler experimental mode, assuming that's still the case. I've had experimental mode unlocked for so very long. When experimental mode came out originally, it basically reset everybody's progress, so we had to go through that stuff as well. We went over our scripts. So we went over the ISI Solar script. Large display text. Edit text. ISI Solar. There. We went over scripts and how to enable them. I'm just making things a little bit easier for me to remember what's what. And I guess right now we're going over how to name things in your panels. This is ISI Manager. You can set up your alignment to left, center, or right. Bring up your font size. And modify your text padding to try and get it close to center. There. Now I know what those are. ISI Solar Alignment and ISI Manager. So anyway, I hope this was at least partially helpful. If it wasn't, please toss in the comments if I screwed something up, if there's something I didn't go over. If you want me to go over other topics, that would be great. But as it stands right now, in the next episode, I am going to start building an aircraft for some longer distance surveying, if you would. But there's that, and I guess we will see you guys in the next one. I've been Relaxed Gamer. I hope this was useful and helpful and you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao!